This video was made in collaboration with Narutopedia. For more information, check out the link in the description. The Life of Sarada Uchiha from Naruto. Sarada Uchiha is a kunoichi from Konohagakure's Uchiha clan. Because she was raised only by her mother without having her father around, Sarada initially struggles to understand who she is or what she's supposed to be. After meeting him with the help of Naruto Uzumaki, Sarada comes to believe that she is defined by the connections she has with others. And as a member of Team Konohamaru, she seeks to someday become Hokage so that she can connect with as many people as possible. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video, we're going over the life of Sarada Uchiha. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. But first, I want to thank Make of Me for sponsoring today's video. Have you ever imagined becoming a character from your favorite anime or movie? Let us introduce you to someone who can make your dream a reality. Fabiano is a freelance cartoonist and graphic designer who has dedicated his life to the world of art and set out to make people around the globe happy with his custom drawings. And now, he's coming to you. Fabiano is truly a master of art. Want to be a superhero straight out of the world of Marvel? Want to live every child's dream as a Disney character? Or better yet, got some unique ideas in mind? Whatever it is, Fabiano can make it happen. You can either get a digital drawing or an entire canvas, or both. Once you receive your digital drawing via email, it's yours, so you can print it out on mugs, t-shirts, or any other item that you like. In case you're worried about the weight or shipping restrictions, don't be. A digital drawing usually takes a couple of days until it's done, and Fabiano offers worldwide shipping. What Fabiano cares about first and foremost is the well-being of his customers. Want to see for yourself? Looks pretty neat, right? Fabiano stepped right up to the task when Ethan requested this custom drawing of himself. To see more of Fabiano's work, you can visit his website at makeof.me. This is your chance to be part of an exclusive giveaway just for you. If you want to be turned into a character from your favorite show or movie, go to Fabiano's Instagram and leave a comment under his latest post saying Amagi giveaway. You can also get a 10% discount by using the code AMAGI10 when checking out his works. So, what are you waiting for? Head over to makeof.me and become your favorite character today. Background. Sarada is the only child of Sakura and Sasuke Uchiha. She was born while Sakura accompanied Sasuke on his travels and was delivered with the help of Karin in one of Orochimaru's hideouts. As such, there is no record of her birth at the Konoha hospital. As a way to keep a connection with Sasuke, despite being happy for him, Karin kept Sarada's umbilical cord. After that, the family returned to Konoha to raise Sarada, where the two helped her learn to walk. During her father's absence from the village while gathering information on Kaguya Otsutsuki, she became ill with a high fever and afterwards began wearing glasses, which, unknown to her, were a gift from Karin. Due to the importance of the mission, her father wasn't around much, and because of this, she did not know anything about him, including what he physically looked like as an adult. Sakura did her best to comfort Sarada during Sasuke's absence, assuring her that her father loved her and that when he completed his important mission, he'd come home. When this conversation went on for too long, Sakura poked Sarada's forehead and promised to continue it some other time. As Sarada's parents continued to stay close to their own childhood friends, she ultimately got to know the kids of her parents' respective friends very well. On the day of Naruto's inauguration as the 7th Hokage, she watched the ceremony beside her mother and Chōchō Akamichi. Academy Entrance Arc. In the anime, on the first day of the academy, Sarada attended her class entrance ceremony and was placed in Shino Abarame's homeroom. After Boruto's suspension ended 2 weeks later, Chōchō noted that Sarada was especially close to Boruto due to their respective parents, though Sarada voiced her dislike of being considered close friends simply because of their parents. Later, as Boruto fought against Iwabi Ueno, she watched the fight in the training hall, leading to Anko Mitarashi scolding them for skipping class. When the class began learning about the summoning technique, tension arose between Sarada and Boruto, which led to the class's two genders bickering against each other. Seeing this, Shino organized a race between the boys and girls, which involved reaching a flag on top of the academy. The challenge quickly got heated, with many of the boys being taken out of the contest until only Boruto, Shikadai, and Inojin were left on their team. Getting desperate, Boruto found a summoning scroll and miraculously summoned a snake-like creature. Going on a rampage, it knocked Chōchō off the roof, leading to Sarada and Boruto rescuing her until Konohamaru Sarutobi arrived and subdued the beast. During the ordeal, Sumire Kake captured the flag, though the girls chose to make peace with the boys. When Mitsuki joined her class, many girls found him very handsome, though Sarada sighed in distaste at them for judging somebody purely on looks. The next day, Sarada participated in the class's welcoming party for Mitsuki, which became a disaster after he disrupted the party with his wind release. Afterwards, a school repairman who was possessed went berserk, leading to Chōchō dragging Sarada into the fray. Combating the worker alongside Iwabi, Shigadai Nara, Boruto, and Mitsuki, the students managed to subdue him. The day after Sumire turned down Magide Kakuremino, Sarada and Chōchō protected her while he continued to stalk her, leading him to trapping the pair in a room while he abducted Sumire. After escaping, the group of students tracked Sumire to the academy roof, during which Sarada blocked Magide's kunai attack on Chōchō. Talking to Magide, Chōchō de-escalated the situation, which consequently freed Magide from being possessed. On her way to reporting to her sensei after night training, Sarada bumped into Boruto and began talking about Kakemasa, during which he runs off after someone. Tracking him down, Sarada saved him from a possessed Gangoro Kamakura and managed to defeat the actor, resulting in him being freed from being possessed. With a workplace field trip coming up, Sarada and Chōchō decided to do their workplace experience at a nail salon. After Sumire, Wasabi Izuno, and Namida Suzumena were attacked by a possessed villager, Sarada and the other students visited the three in hospital, where she escorted Boruto out when he arrived so it would remain quiet. Later, after practicing in a 3-man team in class, Shino was called aside to discuss the absent Sumire, leaving Sarada in charge. Returning with Sumire, all the students were delighted and embraced her return. Sarada Uchiha Arc. As her academy graduation neared, Sarada became jealous that her classmates had the opportunity to train with their fathers, leading her to asking Sakura about Sasuke. Unable to answer if he wore glasses, Sakura accidentally destroyed their house when Sarada questioned if they were even married, resulting in her fainting. Leaving Sakura in Shizune's care, Sarada discovered a group photo of Taka, leading her to becoming suspicious of the woman with the glasses photographed next to Sasuke. Unable to get details revolving around her birth from Shizune, she approached Chōchō, who had doubts about her own parents as well. Sarada decided to seek out Sasuke, leading to her heading to the Hokage office, during which she overheard Naruto discussing plans to go and meet with Sasuke. Preparing to follow him, Chōchō tagged along, and they noticed Boruto arriving late to deliver a lunch to his father. Sarada offered to take it in his place in order for her to have a reason to chase after Naruto. As she and Chōchō hurried to catch up with Naruto, they were confronted by a boy with a Sharingan named Shin Uchiha. Sarada was surprised by him, having been informed that her and her father were the only biological Uchiha left, and so Sarada refused Shin's request to go with him. He attacked them, leading to Naruto saving them after having sensed them. Overwhelmed, the boy retreated with aid from a creature. Naruto decided it would be safer for them to accompany him rather than return to the village without an escort. During their trip, Naruto told Sarada his history with Sasuke and that she shared his looks. Nearing Ridge Tower, Sarada excused herself to go to the bathroom, when she instead ran towards the rendezvous point, during which she awakened her Sharingan at the thought of meeting Sasuke. Entering the tower, Sasuke drew his sword on her for information, believing she was one of Shin's associates. Calling him Dad, Sasuke realized who Sarada is, just as Naruto and Chōchō arrived. Reprimanding the Kage for bringing his daughter and Chōchō, Sarada defended Naruto, saying that she came without his permission because she wanted to ask him if Sakura was really her mother. Not providing any clarification or explanation for his absence from her life, Sarada ran outside and cried. While being comforted by Naruto, the pair are attacked by a man also called Shin Uchiha, who is accompanied by the other Shin. Protected by Naruto from Shin's assault, he found himself crippled, leading to Sasuke having to shield Sarada from Shin's blades with his body. On the verge of defeat, Sakura arrived and immediately attacked the elder Shin. With both Shins defeated, their creature transported Sakura and the pair away. Turning their attention to rescuing Sakura, the fathers decided to go to Orochimaru for intel about Shin. Arriving at the Sannin's residence, Sarada discovered that the two shinobi in her photo resided there. Pulling Suigetsu aside and informing him of her parentage doubts, Suigetsu took DNA from her and tested it against the DNA of what he believed to be Karin's umbilical cord, which resulted in the DNA test being a perfect match. Distraught, Naruto comforted her, before the two ran outside to depart for Sakura's whereabouts, which were revealed by Orochimaru. Arriving at Shin's hideout, Sasuke immediately rescued Sakura while crippling Shin, leading to his clone sons finishing him off. While Naruto and Sasuke fought the clones, Sarada attacked the creature that the original Shin was in the process of using to escape before he died. After Naruto de-escalated the situation and calmed the clones, Sakura told her there was no doubt they were mother and daughter, to which Sarada agreed, and Sasuke stated she is the proof of her parents' connection. After the ordeal, the group enrolled the clones in the Konoha orphanage before returning to Konoha with Sasuke. After spending some time with her parents, they took a family photo, and Sarada along with Sakura later saw Sasuke off as he left the village. Returning to the academy, Sarada thanked Boruto, as her act of delivering Naruto's lunch to him ultimately led her to decide on becoming Hokage. Naruto Shinden, Parent and Child Day. During the new Konohagakure holiday, Parent and Child Day, Sarada resigned herself to spend the family-uniting holiday training with Boruto while Sasuke was still away on mission and Sakura had to spend much of her time at the hospital. Later, she found to her joy that Sasuke had indeed returned to the village. Having spent such little time with Sarada, the normally poised man struggled to connect with his daughter, simply trying to get inspiration wherever he could, instead simply embarrassing Sarada. Finally having enough, Sarada stormed off. She was then approached by Boruto. While Sarada feared that her father didn't really know her, Boruto countered that Sarada didn't know much about him either. At Boruto's suggestion, he insisted to just enjoy the time she has with him. Later, while working on her shuriken skills, Sasuke approached her again, applauding her on her goal of becoming Hokage. He insisted that she would make a better Hokage than he ever could and would support her through her struggles, much to her delight. As the day ended, she and Sasuke returned home where the entire Uchiha family enjoyed a hearty meal together. School Trip Arc. In the anime, Sarada volunteered Boruto to be their class's trip leader for their upcoming trip to the Land of Water. Upon arriving in Kirigakure, the class was escorted through the village by Kagura Karatachi, during which they met the 5th and 6th Mizukage. Later, Sarada found Tsurushi Hachiya injured, leading to her treating his injuries and being informed of Boruto being in danger. Finding Boruto defeated at the Kirigakure Academy, she gave him first aid and was informed that Shizuma Hoshigaki was exploiting Kagura. Wanting to notify the teachers of Shizuma's intentions, Boruto stopped Sarada, as it was his job as the field trip leader to make sure it ends without an incident. After the Mizukage became aware that Kagura had betrayed Kiri alongside Shizuma's gang, Sarada and Boruto approached the pair. Being told that Kagura must suffer the consequences for breaking the rules, Sarada questioned if Chojuro truly wanted to kill Kagura before telling him that the Hokage she aspires to be would never sacrifice a life for the village. Pressuring Chojuro into making the decision look like a fight between kids rather than a rebellion, he accepted Boruto's proposition and decides to assist the pair as their guide. Confronting the group in Memorial Park as they prepared to begin their village revolution, Shizuma casts mist around the surrounding area to conceal the fight. Ichiroto Oniuzu used Shibuki to break apart the ground, leading to Sarada falling into a cavern below. Confronted by Buntan Kurosuke, she pressured the student with her array of lightning release techniques in conjunction with Kiba. Managing to survive using her Sharingan, the fight came to a standstill after Sarada copied Buntan's techniques using her Dojutsu. After managing to cast Genjutsu undetected, Sarada used a paper bomb to explode the hydrogen that had been built up during their fight in the cavern, which resulted in Buntan becoming unconscious. Exhausted, she collapsed. Stopping the rebellion, Tsurushi had to carry Sarada on his back to her hotel as she couldn't walk. Afterwards, they departed the village and returned to Konoha, where she, Boruto, and Iwabi received punishment for their actions during the field trip. Graduation Exams Arc. As ninja classes began preparing for the graduation exams, Sarada was accompanied by Sakura when Shino interviewed her about her future goals. Later, she was interviewed by Sukiya, who she told about her ambition to become Hokage. Later, when Namida and Wasabi began having a falling out because Wasabi wasn't going to continue being a ninja, Sarada was conflicted on how to help. Boruto discreetly noted that the Hokage is supposed to help end all quarrels in the village to benefit all, motivating Sarada to help her friends. Convinced by Sarada, Wasabi spoke to her parents and made them allow her to rejoin Namida in becoming ninja together. In preparation for the Genin exams, Shino hinted to his class to try stealing the written exams test answers, which Sarada and her friends did, leading to them all passing. The next day, the students are getting set against academy teachers and Kakashi Hatake during their 24 practical portion of the exams. While the teachers would still evaluate the students' respective improvements, their true test was against the Hokage. As the test began, Sarada and Sumire fought Konohamaru Sarutobi and were quickly defeated. Regrouping with the uncaptured students, they devised a plan, which she followed to cast Konohamaru under Genjutsu in order to fool him into being eliminated. Facing Kakashi while all the students had been transformed into copies of Boruto, he repelled them all, leading to them all being in positions to restrain him so Boruto could grab his bell. Despite their effort, Kakashi was able to hold them off until the test ended. Though they didn't get the bell, Kakashi chose to pass everyone as they succeeded in the test's true goal, teamwork and loyalty. Afterwards, she was placed on Team 3 with Boruto and Mitsuki under Konohamaru's leadership. Voicing incompatibility with Boruto, the Genin sought out the 7th Hokage to request to be put on another team. While en route, Mirai Sarutobi refused to let them see Naruto, resulting in the shinobi subduing her in order to approach the Kage. Changing her mind, they instead requested their team to have the designation of Team 7, which he granted. Genin Mission Arc. Naruto presented Team 7 their first mission, which involved aiding Green Banks against bandits. Upon arriving, the team learned that the bandits were actually ninja, resulting in Konohamaru questioning if they should continue the mission, as it was probably too difficult for Genin to face trained shinobi. While he discussed the matter with Kiri, the Genin witnessed Ashimaru attacking the village, leading to Konohamaru forcing him to retreat. Kiri explained that the shinobi were attacking the village to pressure her into handing them the deed to the village's bridge. During the night, Team 7 noticed several villages were being controlled by genjutsu before subduing them. Discovering Kiri was abducted during the incident, Team 7 met with the perpetrators to exchange the deed for her. After the exchange occurred, Hidari and Ashimaru decided on killing them all, prompting Konohamaru to task the Genin in fleeing with Kiri. Pursued by Ashimaru, the Genin engaged the missing nin and defeated him after Boruto and Mitsuki launched Sarada at the missing nin in order for her to punch him. Completing the mission, the team returned to Konoha. Byakuya Gang Arc. In order to capture the Byakuya Gang, Team 7 was assigned alongside other Genin teams to report and observe the thieves, and depending on the situation, track them. After the thieves manipulated villagers into believing the Kaminariman Company conducted corrupt practices, protesters gathered in front of the company's headquarters, leading to Kotaro Fuma assigning the same teams to placate the gathering. Taking their position, Boruto noticed Team 10 abandoning their post and followed them, leaving Sarada and Mitsuki by themselves. After being informed that some protesters were being controlled by genjutsu, Sarada released the technique from a villager before Naruto addressed the crowds and quelled the situation. Versus Momoshiki Arc. After completing a mission involving capturing a bear, the team reported their success to Naruto. Later, Sarada and Mitsuki approached Boruto at Lightning Burger to get him to participate in the Chunin exams with them. Refusing at first, Sarada finally convinced him. After Sasuke showed up at her house unannounced, it shocked Sarada and Sakura. Later, after Boruto made a deal with Sasuke involving learning the Rasengan in exchange for becoming a student, Sarada saw Boruto reveal a small Rasengan to Sasuke, leading him to running off after Sasuke commented on its size. Sarada informed her father that it's rare Boruto tries like this, leading to Sasuke informing her that he intended on accepting him as a student. For the first stage of the exams, all teams were given a true or false question regarding a book. Guessing the answer and standing on the area to represent their answer, their foothold gives way to reveal a pit beneath them, leading to Sarada catching Mitsuki when he caught Boruto. Having not fallen into the ink at the bottom of the pit, the team passed. During the second stage, Team Konohamaru competed against a Kirigakure team in a game of Capture the Flag. After Boruto subdued the team, Sarada captured their flag after dispelling the genjutsu protecting it, resulting in their team progressing to the finals. For the final exam, the remaining participants competed in a series of one-on-one matches in a stadium. In her match, Sarada defeated Tadoi in a single punch. In the anime, Sarada participated in her semi-finals match against Araya. As their match commenced, her opponent countered all of Sarada's attacks, leading her to not be able to keep up despite using her Sharingan. After failing to catch Araya in genjutsu, Sarada discovered that she had been facing a puppet, leading to her exposing the puppeteer that was stationed on top of the tournament. Resuming the fight against the puppet, she burnt it using her new technique Sasuke had taught her, resulting in her progressing to the finals against Boruto and Shinki. During the match, though teaming up with Boruto against Shinki, he managed to defeat Sarada before Boruto managed to defeat him. While Sarada happily applauded Boruto for his victory, she became very disappointed by him when it was learned he had cheated by using the exam forbidden Kote to win, thus disqualifying him. When the stadium was attacked by Kinshiki and Momoshiki Otsutsuki, Sarada began helping spectators evacuate. As a piece of debris fell towards her, Sasuke saved her. He then took Sarada to Naruto and Boruto, leading to the parents shielding their children. Becoming more dangerous, Naruto instructed Sasuke to flee with the Genin. Afterwards, Naruto is captured and taken. Staying beside an unconscious Boruto in the hospital, she informed him when he woke up that Naruto was captured, leading to Boruto and Sasuke leaving with the 4 Hokage to rescue him. After they succeeded, Sasuke decided to take advantage of his newfound data being analyzed by Konoha to spend time with his family. Much to Sarada's joy. She insisted that he help her improve her Great Fireball technique, which he happily agreed to. A few days later, Sarada and her team was tasked with capturing the same bear a few days after the attack. Chōchō Arc. In the anime, when the lead actors of a popular TV drama, Tomaru and Ashina, received a death threat if they continued filming their show, Team 7 and 10 were assigned to protect the actors. Sarada and her team were assigned to watch Ashina, during which she grew concerned about Chōchō when her infatuation for Tomaru made her constantly use her butterfly mode. She grew even more annoyed when Tomaru showed no respect to Chōchō in her real form. Soon after, an Amagakure shinobi began attacking the set and eventually kidnapped Tomaru, leading to him demanding Ashina deliver 20 million ryo in exchange for Tomaru. When the exchange took place, the Genin stood on standby, during which Konohamaru, who had earlier defeated the Ame ninja, made the exchange while disguised as the assailant. His actions led to Ashina being exposed as the culprit behind the kidnapping, causing her to use explosive tags, which resulted in a landslide. Using wire strings with the other Genin, they stopped the rocks from falling onto Maru. With Ashina being captured, Team 7's mission was completed. Mitsuki's Disappearance Arc. In the anime, during another Kage summit in Konoha, Sarada and her teammates met Onoki. After treating the man to a tour around the village, Onoki gave the Genin the answer to a riddle Naruto once asked on what is the hardest stone. Onoki revealed that it was a riddle he once gave to Naruto, and that the answer is the core of one's being, that they must keep their core strong to endure all obstacles. Later, all missions were suspended during an investigation of an attack on 2 gate guards. When Mitsuki failed to show up, Boruto and Sarada asked Konohamaru about it. As it became clear that he was hiding something, the 2 Genin decided to spy on the 7th Hokage's meeting, during which they learned Mitsuki left the village after attacking Konoha Shinobi, as well as Orochimaru being Mitsuki's father. Ultimately, the Hokage's peers deemed Mitsuki as a traitor. While Sarada decided that they must follow orders and stay put, Boruto, who refused to believe his friend was a traitor, noted that Sarada's goal of becoming Hokage is meaningless if she has no loyalty to her friends. The following night, when Boruto found Mitsuki's snake with a recorded message on it, the two decided to go to Orochimaru for answers. Upon arriving outside Orochimaru's research lab to lure away the Konoha Jonin stationed there, Sarada transformed into Mitsuki to act as a distraction while Boruto snuck inside. While successful in luring the shinobi away, Sarada became trapped by the Jonin, leading to Karin rescuing her to Sarada's surprise. Regrouping with Boruto in the lab, Sarada learned that Mitsuki was one of many clones. As Orochimaru was unable to discover clues from the snake, he informed the Genin that it's possible to extract information about Mitsuki from the snake's memory if the pair took it to the White Snake Sage, prompting them to travel to Ryuchi Cave. On their way there, their path was blocked by Team 10. Refusing to return to Konoha, they engaged the team in battle. After the pair was subdued, Shikadai realized the situation had too many inconsistencies to brand Mitsuki a traitor. Wanting to find answers, Shikadai convinced his teammates to help Boruto and Sarada. Arriving at the cave, the Genin gained access after Boruto passed 3 trials. Inside, the shinobi met the sage, who tasked them with presenting her Garaga's reverse scale in order to unravel the secrets of Mitsuki's snake. During their ordeal, Sasuke's summoning snake Aoda came to Sarada's aid, and after Boruto entered a summoning contract with Garaga and presented him to the sage, she showed Mitsuki's snake's memories to the group, which revealed that he wasn't a traitor and he was heading to the Land of Earth. As the group began to approach the Land of Earth's border, Shikadai had Inojin and Chōchō return to the village to report their findings. As the other Genin continued their pursuit, they found a group of Konoha Chunin who were defeated by Kokuyo, who attacked and pressured the shinobi. The 3 are aided by Inojin and Chōchō, who dealt with Kokuyo while Sarada and Boruto continued on. They were soon intercepted by Sekie, who noted that Mitsuki was with them willingly. While Boruto fought him, Mitsuki saved Sekie from an attack before assaulting Boruto into becoming unconscious, which shocked Sarada. After the foreigners and Mitsuki departed, the Ino Shikacho trio returned to help Boruto. After Boruto awoke, the group agreed to venture on to Iwagakure and retrieve Mitsuki, prompting Boruto to suggest receiving aid from Onoki. When they confronted Onoki, the elderly man was happy to see his friends again. Once they revealed their goal of finding Mitsuki, however, Onoki's attitude turned dark and he turned them away. The group was then surrounded by a bunch of Akuta that were being controlled by Ku, the leader of the conspiracy in Iwagakure, as well as Onoki's son, who was working alongside the retired Tsuchikage, much to everyone's horror. As Onoki began explaining the nature of his plans and his genuine desire to protect people, realizing that with his secret out in the open, he would have to accelerate his plans before the other great shinobi countries learned. While Onoki told his son to gently take his prisoners away, Boruto and the others chose to resist, and a fight ensued. As the battle escalated, a massive column was knocked over towards Onoki. He was narrowly saved by Boruto, who then retreated while carrying the elderly man. While Shikadai was captured, Sarada and the others scattered to escape. She soon after regrouped at the cave with Inojin and Chōchō, surprised to learn that Boruto hadn't returned yet. They decided to wait and see how things played out. Deciding that they had waited long enough, the group decided to look for their friends. They instead found an injured Akatsuchi. They noticed an explosion. Realizing that it could be their friends, Inojin was chosen to take Akatsuchi back to the cave, while Sarada and Chōchō went to investigate. The 2 kunoichi found Boruto battling Kako, whose immense physical prowess and dust release was overwhelming him. Ultimately, Sarada found a time limit in her foe's attacks and used it to counter. Kako pushed his body past his limit to continue attacking, which ultimately overtaxed his body, causing him to die. Onoki, who was watching, was shocked to see how the artificial soldier attacked so recklessly and against his previous orders of not hurting the Genin. Boruto insisted that despite the elderly man's belief, the fabrications did indeed have free will. Inojin arrived and subdued Boruto as he was under Kirara's genjutsu. She then arrived with the Akuta and surrounded the Konoha-nin. While returning to the village, Onoki was visibly horrified by the hostile takeover of the village. When approaching Ku, the second-in-command voiced his plan to transplant human hearts into the fabrications to sustain them. The elder, however, refused on the grounds that it went against the purpose of his goal of saving lives. Deciding that Onoki was too sentimental to see the bigger picture, Ku usurped the third Tsuchikage. Before Ku could move on with his plan, Shigadai appeared, using a diversion to help his friends escape. As the Ino Shikacho trio decided to face off against Kokuyo, Boruto and Sarada were forced to face Kirara, who voiced her desire to take Sarada's glasses on the grounds that they would look better on her. Sarada tried to battle back Kirara's genjutsu with her Sharingan, but she was still just as quickly subdued as Boruto by her power. She had them fighting until she received word that the transplant hearts were ready, and left them with a final command to fight to the death. Sarada, however, had found an opening, using the sword's reflection to cast a genjutsu on herself and break free, and subsequently freed Boruto as well. They caught up with the fabrications as Mitsuki was about to deliver a transplant for Ku. Mitsuki's attack kept them at a distance, and Ku's earth release immobilized them. They watched in shock as Mitsuki betrayed and attacked Ku from behind. Mitsuki told them of his actions deceiving the fabrications, revealing the heart as disguised snakes. Team 7 prepared to confront the remaining fabrications. As Ku retreated to treat his wounds and decaying body, Sarada and Boruto went after him, while Mitsuki faced Sekie. Sarada confronted Kirara, catching her in a genjutsu and landing a debilitating lightning release attack. Soon afterwards, Boruto and Garaga destroyed the Akuta, a piece of which fell on and killed Kirara. Upon regrouping with Mitsuki at the Old City, they were confronted by Ku, who had recently transplanted a human heart into himself, stabilizing his body. As Ku began pressuring the Genin with his renewed power, Mitsuki unleashed his Sage Mode to push the fabrication back. While Sarada and Boruto were trapped under rubble, they were saved by the aid of Seki, who was accompanied by Onoki. Having a change of heart after seeing what became of his work, Onoki wished to help the Genin stop Ku. They brought him to face Ku, who tried to reason again on how far Ku strayed from his original path. Ku attacked the group with his dust release. Sarada saved everyone by breaking through the ground. As Ku caught up to finish the battle, the combined effort of Team 7 managed to seriously damage Ku. He attempted a final dust release on the group, only for Onoki to counter it with a much stronger one, determined not to face his late grandson again without atoning. Onoki ultimately destroyed Ku. Afterwards, the Genin approached the drained Tsuchikage, who spoke to them about the importance of keeping one's will strong before collapsing. Team 7 was then found by their allies from Konohagakure, and they welcomed Mitsuki back. After returning home, Sarada was hugged by an angry and relieved Sakura. She and Boruto later had their shinobi status revoked for their technical desertion. She and Boruto then found Mitsuki, who also had his shinobi status revoked. Mitsuki apologized for his recent actions and admitted to the shameless curiosity of wanting to connect with people more like him. Boruto, however, quickly accepted his apology and admitted he was glad that he got the chance to better understand Mitsuki as a person, hoping to learn more about each other, much to Mitsuki's delight. Later, due to Kurotsuchi's gratitude and recommendation, it was decided to restore Team 7's Genin shinobi status. Jūgo Arc. In the anime, sometime later, Team 7 and Team 15 were led by Konohamaru, Hanabi having had another assignment. They were assigned to investigate the random attacks on the village from its nearby wildlife. Tosaka, an ornithologist, was appointed to lend assistance with the birds. Upon arriving, the group was attacked by strange-looking birds. At the village, they learned that many people attacked by the mutated birds quickly became sick and were covered in cursed seals. The villagers also found an unconscious Jūgo. Recognizing him, Sarada questioned him until one of the sick villagers went on a rampage. Jūgo subdued him, causing the villager's cursed seal to disappear and return into the forest. Konohamaru speculated that Orochimaru was involved in this and split the team up to investigate, pairing Sarada and Boruto together. Remembering how the villagers said they heard roars coming from underground, Boruto deduced that there was a hidden cave. Together, he and Sarada found Jūgo, who randomly transformed into his berserk state and attacked them. Konohamaru intervened, and Sarada attempted to help with the explosive tag kunai. But Jūgo just shrugged it off, requiring Mitsuki to pull her out of the way of his attack. After Konohamaru snapped Jūgo out of his bloodlust, Sarada and the others followed him, finding him passed out with an injection device near him. They were attacked by another bird, but Jūgo woke up and cured the bird from its cursed seal. Back at the village, Boruto stopped Sarada from updating the village headman until they had all the information. Sarada was among those tasked by Konohamaru with monitoring Jūgo and finding more of his tranquilizer drug. They observed Jūgo struggling to control his transformation after curing more birds. Jūgo relented in letting them help after the episode. They came across Land of Rivers researchers, but lied and said they didn't have information to share. After Boruto helped Jūgo with another episode, Sarada and the others discussed their lack of progress with the investigation while being spied on by one of the researchers they met earlier. Over the next couple days, the group continued to work on the birds. Sarada explained to Tosaka that she convinced Jūgo to medicate regularly instead of only when he felt a transformation coming. Jūgo observed that it dulled him and that he was starting to build up a tolerance to the drug. Sarada and Boruto looked out over the remaining shots and wondered what would happen once they ran out. On the third day, Jūgo underwent a transformation and Sarada discovered his spare shots had gone missing. Jūgo attacked the village, but it was the Land of Rivers researchers who subdued him with tranquilizers before he could hurt anyone. They exposed the Konoha shinobi as being aware of Jugo's identity as the monster, causing the villagers to turn against them. When they mentioned having requested backup, the researchers reveal Wasabi and Namida, unconscious and infected with cursed seals. Sarada asked about Sumire, but they claimed to have only found the two. After the Genin reluctantly left the village, while Tosaka was allowed to remain to help in the investigation, they found Sumire after she was knocked out by Suigetsu. Suigetsu insisted that Nue attacked them first, and he only acted in self-defense. When learning that the Otonin were looking for Jūgo, who left the base without permission, the Genin explained that Jūgo was apprehended by the Land of Rivers researchers. While Karin treated Sumire, she voiced her joy at seeing Sarada again, saying she is dear to her despite them not being related. When Sumire awoke, she explained that the two assailants who captured Wasabi, Uzuno, and Namida Suzumeno had special collars that let them harness their curse seals of their own. Realizing that this duo was working with the Land of Rivers researchers, they concluded that the outbreak must have been started by them. While Suigetsu insisted on just assaulting the enemies and taking Jūgo back by force, Karin reminded him that such reckless actions could reflect negatively on Orochimaru's already dubious truce with the world. Karin and Sarada acted as diversions to draw out the assailants while their allies infiltrated the enemy base. While initially working, their enemies quickly saw through the ruse and split up, with Sasami going further to face Karin and Sarada while Momo returned to the base. Once transformed, Sasami quickly began making sport of her opponents, treating them as prey. Sarada's Sharingan let her follow her movements enough to defend. However, as her chakra quickly drained from using her dojutsu, Sasami managed to land a powerful blow on her. Karin defended Sarada by subduing Sasami with her chakra points long enough for Sarada to take some of Karin's chakra. This let Sarada deliver a devastating punch that knocked Sasami out and destroyed her cursed seal collar. Karin complimented her skills as Sakura and Sasuke's daughter. On their way back to the village, they changed course as Sarada realized the wild geese were about to start migrating, spreading the cursed seal infection. Sarada and Karin struggled to keep the infected geese from migrating, requesting Team 15's help when they arrived by the lake. While Jūgo defeated Tosaka and later fought Nue and Boruto, Karin considered the possibility of having to kill the birds to prevent the cursed seal from spreading. She didn't think Sarada could do it, but she took the responsibility onto herself, as she was part of the team assigned to the mission. After Boruto managed to cause Jugo's transformation to recede, Mitsuki arrived with Konohamaru and Suigetsu, having acquired a serum to remove the infection. Suigetsu consumed it and merged with the lake to rain it over the birds. Sarada chastised Boruto on the recklessness of his plan to snap Jūgo out of his rampage, but he retorted the plan worked. The two wondered what Jūgo would do next. Konohamaru's Love Arc. In the anime, Sarada joined Chōchō and Boruto in seeing a romance movie, which Boruto mistook for being an action movie. Afterwards, Sarada and Chōchō were baffled at Boruto's ignorance in love. Later, after Konohamaru began developing feelings for the noblewoman Remon Yoimura, she and Chōchō pointed out the truth of it to Boruto. One Tail Escort Arc. In the anime, having some time off with Chōchō, they decided to go on a gourmet tour together. As Boruto whined about having not gotten to train with Sasuke in a while and envying his ability to travel the world, Sarada insisted that there was still much to learn from living in Konohagakure. Time Slip Arc. In the anime, after Sasuke helped in delivering Shukaku safely to the village, he was given some downtime. While Sarada was happy to have her father back, she was dismayed by how little time he spent with her at home. Later, Boruto came by, hoping to train with Sasuke again. He was also hoping to learn more about Jiraiya, being Naruto's former teacher and mentor. Sarada remembered hearing how he was a famous author and wrote the Icha Icha series. As the book series was an older one, the two decided to go to the flea market in hopes of finding it. When meeting various adults who knew Jiraiya personally, they each openly praised the Sannin, describing his greatness and influence on Naruto, but also insisted that the two kids were too young to read the adult books. Later, Sarada joined the other Genin in testing out new surveillance equipment designed to follow their location. During the field test, Urashiki Otsutsuki was spotted in the area, where Sarada joined several other Konoha nin in pursuing him. However, it turned out to be a diversion by the alien, who placed a genjutsu on them to let him sneak into the village. Sometime later, after Urashiki was defeated, Sumire officially was transferred to the Scientific Ninja Weapons team. While everyone was sad to see her go, Sarada had everyone throw a farewell party for their former class rep. During preparations, they met Sumire's replacement for Team 15, Tsubaki Kurogane, a samurai student from the Land of Iron. Mujina Bandits Arc. In the anime, while Mitsuki and Boruto infiltrated Hozuki Castle as prisoners to locate Kokori, a deserter of the Mujina Bandits, for his information on the nefarious group and to protect him from the gang's second-in-command, Tsukio, Sarada arrived as a guest, under the guise of being a journalism student conducting research on the place. She was shown around by Benga and later exchanged words with Mujo, the master of the castle who was in on their mission. Later, Sarada retrieved words from Mitsuki and Boruto that their cell had a spare bed, asking Sarada to have Mujo reassign Kokori to their cell. While Mujo agreed to help, his position in the castle was more figurehead than actual authority, as Benga, the chief officer, had final say and declined the request. Realizing they needed to pressure Benga somehow, they learned that Benga was secretly taking various bribes from the prisoners for special requests. Sarada found a journal of his dealings and presented it to Mujo. Using this leverage, Mujo had the authority to take full command of the prison, successfully moving Kokori to Boruto and Mitsuki's cell. Hoping to learn more about the intentions of Mujina Bandit's second-in-command, Tsukio, she approached the man's cell, claiming to be a reporter. However, Tsukio saw through her ruse and asked her why she was pretending to be a reporter. Later, deciding to find out how trustworthy Kokori really was, they lured him away from prying eyes, where Sarada used genjutsu to make Kokori see Tsukio escape and attack Boruto. Tsukio demanded to know where the money was. Kokori confessed, and that he donated all the stolen money to a medical center. Realizing that Kokori could be trusted, Sarada and her team promised to safely get him to Konohagakure. They learned of a supply ship that regularly comes to the prison. Also, knowing they would require a great deal of water to counter the seal on Kokori, Team 7 sabotaged the water line, knowing it would force the guards to use a backup line that they could gather water from. As they began their plan and Sarada succeeded in diverting water into a tank, she was confronted by Benga, who grew concerned from learning of Sarada talking with Tsukio. As he cornered Sarada, she revealed to have learned a lot about the shady dealings in the prison by Benga. Seeing her as a threat to his newfound position, Benga attacked her with fire release. The explosion from a pipeline hit Sarada hard and made her fall into a pit unconscious. When Sarada came through, she was puzzled by the rapidly rising water level. She was saved from drowning by Kadama, who explained how the spring tide worked on the castle, and informed her that Benga had learned of their breakout plan. She arrived just in time to save Kokori and the others by breaking the ground, allowing the spring tide to wash over them. On the outside, Sarada and the others were attacked by Tsukio, who was released as a last-ditch effort by Benga. Using his array of shadow manipulation techniques, he was able to pressure the Genin. As the Konoha Nin began to tire, Kokori saw through the enemy's technique's weakness to light, giving the Konoha Nin the knowledge they needed to overpower and defeat their foe. In a last-ditch effort, Tsukio grabbed Kokori and dragged the man with him off a ledge and into the ocean. Kokori then emerged, claiming that Tsukio drowned. Soon after, Sai and a group of Konoha Nin appeared, having been mobilized by Naruto after losing contact with Mujo for so long. With Benga killed by Tsukio and Mujo having recently recovered to resume his duties, Team 7's mission was completed, taking Kokori with them to the village to verify his intel on the Mujina Bandits before releasing him. Several months later, while Team 7's on a mission to capture the Mujina Bandits, Sarada punches some bandits and she asks them where their boss is. Later, Sarada is annoyed that Boruto is wasting his mission earnings by buying trading cards. A few days later, Sarada and her team were given their first B-rank mission. While intimidated at first, as such missions were usually reserved for at least Chunin, Mitsuki noted that the 5th Kazekage was known for doing B-rank missions when he was a Genin. Seeing a similarity in this fact to her desire becoming Hokage, Sarada quickly became excited about it. Later that night, while practicing her marksmanship at home, Boruto arrived, saying that something important came up and he would not be able to join the mission. Realizing that Boruto truly felt he needed to do this, she told Boruto to handle his problem while she tells the team, admiring Boruto's newfound sense of responsibility. On the day of the mission, worried about her teammate, Sarada had Mitsuki track Boruto down to help. They arrived in time to save the paralyzed Boruto from Chochoji, quickly subduing and defeating the bandit. Later, while applauded for saving Tento and capturing the Mujina Bandits, Konohamaru also said they'd have to be punished for abandoning their official mission. Kara Actuation Arc. In the anime, Sarada's team was assigned to work with Mugino to find Anato, a missing researcher in the Land of Valleys. After meeting the man's wife, Mia, and learning about the village's large medical company, they were able to sneak the last known location of Anato's team. There, they were intercepted by Victor, the company's president, and his guards. As he was also looking for Anato's team, they found that many of them were dead. It was decided to join efforts. They soon found a cave, and inside they found Anato, whose body was altered to a malleable state and mindlessly attacked them. After the team failed to restrain Anato, Victor and his crew then appeared and subdued him with a relentless barrage of lightning release. Victor promised they would return Anato to the village for treatment. With their mission technically completed, the Konoha nin decided to return to Konohagakure. Along the way, Mitsuki became ill and his body was taking on the same properties as Anado. Mugino brought them to Yubina, a former medical nin. Sarada aided her in treating Mitsuki. Yubina determined that during the fight with Anado, Mitsuki was infected by some of the first Hokage's cellular structure. Yubina also revealed that other cases like this have shown up and that there are rumors that the black market was harvesting the late Hokage's cells for sale. It was decided that while Mitsuki should stay behind to recover, the rest would go to the source in the Land of Silence. There, they learned that a worker from Victor's company came by weeks ago with the Hashirama cell before suddenly disappearing. They also heard rumors that a man was in the area with connections to the Hashirama cell. It turned out to be a missing nin named Kirisaki, with unique medical ninjutsu prowess. After Boruto lured him away, they were able to detain him. They learned that he was expecting to meet someone about the Hashirama cell the following day. They decided to impersonate Kirisaki to retrieve the Hashirama cell. Sarada stayed hidden while using her Sharingan to maintain watch. Once meeting the contact, he was fooled to revealing that the Hashirama cell was acquired by Lady Sakuya. She desired to use the Hashirama cell on herself under the misguided delusion that it would let her live forever and even more, restore her youth and former beauty. At the castle, Sarada and Mugino waited outside as a barrier around it prevented infiltration. Soon after, an alarm was sounded. It was revealed that someone had killed Sakuya and framed the Konoha nin to safely escape with the stolen Hashirama cell. Everyone in the city began hunting them down in the hopes of getting a reward for their capture. Upon being cornered, they were aided by a young boy named Katara. He led them through an underground network that the children of the city used for their own society. At the base, the Konoha nin met up with Mitsuki. After he fully recovered and his antibodies helped cure Kona, she helped Mitsuki sneak into the city. The children's network was able to quickly find the true killers. Once outside the country's borders, the Genin split up from Mugino and Konohamaru split to find their targets. However, they were quickly attacked by new enemies. The attackers were revealed to be Kumo nin, consisting of Omoe, Kakui, and Marui. Having heard rumors that the Konoha nin killed Lady Sakuya and stole the Hashirama cell, they interrogated the Genin. Mugino and Konohamaru quickly returned and cleared things up. After explaining the situation, the group worked together to hunt down the true culprits, who were deduced to be shinobi from the Land of Haze. Along the way, they were intercepted by Deepa, who was also looking for the Hashirama cell. Omoe's team decided to face the new threat while the Konoha nin moved on. Soon after, Mugino and his team was intercepted by one of the thieves, Yuga, who was determined to complete his mission of delivering the Hashirama cell to his land at all costs. He unleashed a self-sacrificing technique to ensnare the Konoha nin in a barrier and summon a destructive demon. The Genin tried to hold off the demon while Mugino and Konohamaru attempted to destroy the barrier, but were quickly stopped by it. Changing tactics, Mugino restrained the demon, letting it absorb his chakra long enough for his team to destroy it. Later, after Mugino recovered enough, the team then resumed tracking the Haze nin. Upon catching up with the remaining foes, the Konoha nin were tricked and caught by Hyuga's self-sacrificing technique that produced a restraining sludge. As Sarada realized the technique would drag all near him underground, Omoe appeared. Battered, he revealed that Deepa killed his allies and was on the way to the Land of Haze to get the Hashirama cell. Worrying for his remaining brother, Hyuga canceled his technique and rushed off. While Omoe could not join his allies, he warned them that Deepa was seemingly impervious to all forms of attack. Upon catching up to Hyuga's older brother, Asaka, it took some convincing that Hyuga was truly him, and that there was a new threat. Before a truce could be agreed upon, Deepa arrived and swiftly struck down the remaining quadruplets. Boruto was furious and attacked the man, only for his kunai to harmlessly bounce off Deepa's body. The man explained that he's able to manipulate all the carbon around him, including in his own body, to become invulnerable. Victor arrived and was revealed to be allied with Deepa. Victor split up the Jonin from the Genin in the team, where Sarada and her teammates faced Deepa. Sarada's Sharingan proved unable to properly keep up with Deepa's movements, and ultimately she and Boruto were knocked out. Mitsuki revealed his Sage transformation to save his friends and escape. With how severe Sarada and Boruto's injuries were, Mitsuki brought them to Yubina for care, who stabilized their condition. Soon after, Konohamaru and Mugino brought them back to Konohagakure for better care, also bringing Mitsuki to Orochimaru for his treatment. After successfully undergoing an operation, Sarada was left ashamed at her defeat against Deepa. Despite this, 3 days later, she was able to pick herself back up and committed herself to growing stronger, seeking her father to train her. She asked him to teach her the Chidori, but he refused, explaining the risks associated with the jutsu. Her Sharingan wasn't mature enough yet, having only one Tomoe when 2 were required to properly perceive enemy counterattacks, due to Chidori's linear path. Sarada was disheartened to learn that one simply can't train the Sharingan to develop it, which required heightened emotional responses to extreme situations. Instead, he suggested that she master her one Tomoe Sharingan, requiring her to dodge attacks similar to Deepa's. He counseled her not to focus on all targets at once, and instead focus on the general area of the attacks. As Sarada began improving in her movements against barrage attacks, Sasuke noticed that she was still very limited on how long she could maintain the Sharingan. As she began discussing to focus on improving her stamina, Sarada insisted on strengthening her Sharingan as much as her father. She asked about the Mangekyo Sharingan, having only vague knowledge about it. Concerned about such a dangerous power, Sasuke quickly changed subject, insisting it was for another day. Soon they were approached by Sakura. She was concerned Sarada was pushing herself too hard after just recovering, and even more horrified to hear her talk about the Mangekyo Sharingan. While Sakura insisted that she shouldn't push herself so recklessly, Sarada was furious to hear her mother baby her without realizing why she wanted to get stronger, and stormed off. The following day, as Sarada continued struggling to evade all of Sasuke's barrages, Sakura approached them again. She insisted that just blindly facing the challenge wouldn't yield any results. She took Sarada into a sparring match with her, quickly overwhelming Sarada. Sakura noted Sarada's chakra control was still underdeveloped, quickly burning through it with all of her various actions and unleashing it randomly when attacking, affecting both her combat performance and the development of her Sharingan. Sarada's second problem was that her resolve was still too frail, fearing defeat. Determined to break past her limit, Sarada faced down Sakura again, using her Sharingan to mimic Sakura's movements and general timing for chakra-enhanced strength to improve her own and reach a standstill. As Sakura tearfully criticized Sarada's recklessness, she was proud to see that Sarada's inner strength was like her own, deciding to put Sarada through the same grueling combat training Tsunade did to improve her chakra control, much to Sarada's horror. Later, as Sarada's training under her parents was showing good results, she went to check on Boruto after he was discharged from the hospital following his own training. After they compared each other's growth, it felt like it was a good time to return to the Land of Valleys to return Anato's ring to Miya. Having already gained approval to leave from the 7th Hokage, the two went off. Upon returning to the Land of Valleys, they met Miya and gave her Anato's ring. They also learned that Victor reported to Miya that Anato was killed by enemies trying to steal their research. Realizing that Victor was using Anato for his own gain, Boruto decided to reveal the truth about Victor's goals, despite Sarada's protest. Suddenly, there was an earthquake coming from the company's main building. Sarada and Boruto decided to investigate. There, they found Konohamaru struggling to defend himself from the vicious assault of a recreated god tree. As they helped him, he explained how the god tree was not seen since the 4th Shinobi World War. Victor then approached, explaining that he took fragments of the dead god tree after the war ended, nurturing them with the Hashirama cell and the various test subjects. He voiced his joy at how the people of the Land of Valleys would be consumed by the god tree to produce chakra fruit. Victor collapsed the ground around Boruto and Sarada, sending them down to the floor below. From there, they were approached by Deepa. Sarada and Boruto were determined to stop him once and for all after all the people he hurt. Despite their improved skill, and even aided by the return of Mitsuki, Deepa's carbon powers proved as infallible as ever. Sarada, however, refused to be deterred, her drive allowing both her Sharingan to advance to Tutomoe. Her improved reflexes allowed her to better dodge and deflect Deepa's assaults and get in close to attack, but his defense powers still proved too great. Ultimately, by donating her chakra with Mitsuki's into Boruto, they were finally able to break through Deepa's defense and defeat him with a super compression Rasengan, during which Orochimaru destroyed the god tree and defeated Victor. As Miya promised to testify against the company's actions, Team 7 was proud of their victory. Ao Arc. In the anime, Sarada attended the memorial service for the fallen people of the 4th Shinobi World War. Later, after watching Naruto test out Katasuke's new scientific ninja tool against Boruto at the training hall, the Hokage assigned Team Konohamaru's Genin to escort Katasuke and the new tool to Ryuben City, followed by testing of the technology. Catching a thunder train, the group sat with an acquaintance of Katasuke, Ao, for the duration of the trip. Arriving at the research institute, they're surprised to see Sumide working there. Having completed the escort, the Genin begin testing out the facility's scientific ninja tools. Soon afterwards, they're contacted by Naruto, who informs them that he's lost contact with Konohamaru and Mugino while they were on a mission near their location, leading them to suspending their current mission in order to search for the two. Preparing to depart, Katasuke decides to join them in his prototype battle armor, and Akita Inuzuka has her Ninken Chamaru aid them, so the four follow Chamaru to Konohamaru's location. As they begin discussing the situation, Ao confronted them, prompting him to attack the group for the knowledge they've learned. Taking cover behind a rock from his ninjutsu bullets, Katasuke has one of his suit's gauntlets taken, which Ao begins using for himself. While contemplating to use the smoke flash bomb that Akita gave him against Ao in order for them to escape, Mugino sacrificed himself to cause the cave they were in to collapse on himself and Ao. Surviving the attack, Konohamaru has the shinobi retreat before Ao could free himself. Using a scientific ninja tool to heal Konohamaru's injury, the group learned from Katasuke that the technology was used against them was stolen from him. Afterwards, the team devised a plan to combat Ao. Beginning a counterattack, Sarada repelled Ao with taijutsu after Konohamaru and Mitsuki distracted him. Using fire release to occupy Ao as he absorbed the group's elemental attacks, Boruto attacked him, leading him to be disarmed and fooling Ao into using the Genin's chakra blade against him, resulting in Ao having a significant amount of his chakra drained. Having destroyed Ao's gauntlet, the team began dodging Ao's mirror drone attacks, during which Sarada carried an injured Konohamaru to safety. After Ao is defeated by Boruto, Sarada looked on as a giant toad crushed Ao before she questioned who the culprit was. The assailant introduced himself as Koji Kashin, and caught the team in Fuinjutsu, during which Konohamaru freed himself and faced the opponent alone. Watching the fight, Koji managed to engulf Konohamaru in flames, which triggered Boruto's Kama to activate. Absorbing Koji's techniques, the team was freed, leading to Sarada coming to Boruto's aid when he collapsed. Pressing Koji for information regarding Boruto's mark, Mitsuki intervened to stop her, during which Koji retreated. Kawaki Arc. Having departed back to Konoha, Sarada helped Boruto walk, during which the group discovered destroyed puppets in the vicinity of an unconscious boy. As they began to examine him, Kawaki, they discovered that he had a matching seal to Boruto's on his palm. As Boruto's seal began to hurt, Kawaki also felt the pain, making him abruptly wake up and destroy the area within his vicinity. Questioning who the team were, Konohamaru identified himself and asked for information regarding the crash. Refusing to provide information and wanting to be left alone, Boruto revealed to the boy his mark, resulting in Kawaki believing they were pursuers from Kara. As they tried to correct him, Garo made his presence known, announcing his intentions of recovering Kawaki. Killing his assailant with a blast, Team 7 survived the blast upon Boruto absorbing it with his Kama. Passing out from his fight, Katasuke determined to bring his body to have been modified into a scientific ninja tool. Ultimately, it was decided to bring Kawaki back to the village to see the 7th Hokage. In the anime, while Konohamaru went to report to the Hokage, Sarada and her team first brought Kawaki back to the research institute to be looked after, where the strange boy was detained. As the boy's rampage began causing much collateral damage, Naruto arrived. Having heard from Sumide that the boy was just emotionally scarred from his hard past, the Hokage took pity and passively subdued Kawaki. While browsing at Yamanaka Flowers, Sarada saw Kawaki having a panic attack and Naruto comforting him afterwards. Having bought a vase, Sarada decided to leave the pair, and told Kawaki that as someone who's aiming on becoming Hokage, she can rely on him. After learning that Kawaki and Boruto fought Delta, Sarada questioned why the pair were so comfortable with each other now. Later, watching the 7th train Kawaki in ninjutsu with Chōchō, Sarada felt jealous with how he was getting special treatment from the Hokage. After the training, Sarada questioned her teammates and Kawaki if there was any connection between Kama and the mark on Sakura's forehead. Naruto informed her that Sakura's mark was the Strength of 100 seal, prompting Mitsuki to inform everyone that there was a lot about her jutsu that isn't understood yet, prompting her to seek out Sakura about it. Finding Sakura at Yamanaka Flowers with Ino, Sarada asked for information about her mark, and learned that it was a jutsu from the Sage of Six-Paths era. Afterwards, Sakura asked her to take some flowers she had bought home, leading to Sarada excitingly learning Sasuke was coming home, during which Ino sensed a village intruder. Listening to Ino informing Naruto of them being at his location, Sarada told Sakura she was heading home, but instead decided to go to the Hokage and Kawaki's location as she couldn't sit back and do nothing. Arriving at her destination, she found Kawaki alone and questioned to where Naruto was. Joined by Mitsuki and Boruto, she informed them that Naruto was missing, as Shikamaru immobilized Kawaki from moving and had his peers erect a barrier around the Hokage's residence. Learning what had happened and comforting Kawaki, his prosthetic arm began to work, leading to confirming Naruto was still alive and forming a portal with Boruto to his location. Intending on going, Shikamaru restrained them all with his shadow, which Kawaki absorbed to allow them to enter the portal. On the other side, they arrived in a foreign dimension and found Boro, who told them the pot he was guarding contained Naruto. Engaging him in battle, Sarada attempted a fire release, but Boro grabbed her and squeezed her. She watched as Boruto's Kama evolved, warping Boruto's personality while exhibiting a massive boost in power to effortlessly destroy Boro. Afterwards, Kama deactivated and Boruto returned to normal with no memory of what had happened. Sarada concerned about the danger posed by Kama. After the team returned to Konoha via Boruto and Kawaki's Kama, they were taken to the hospital to recover. After Naruto and Sasuke recovered from their own injuries, Sasuke questioned his daughter about the events. Sarada explained to her parents how during their battle against Boro, it was only thanks to a strange new evolution of Boruto's Kama that they were able to defeat him. She noted that Boruto not only sprouted a horn and manifested a Byakugan in his right eye with his massive increase in power, but was even acting differently. This concerned Sarada, but Sakura told her daughter to rest, to which she agreed. Post-Kawaki Arc. Following the defeat of Ishiki Otsutsuki, Boruto was put indefinitely off active duty to be monitored for his Kama. Sarada had mixed feelings on this, as it also meant that Team 7 was suspended. She talked with her friends, who were all concerned about Boruto's future. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.